Okay, everyone, we're gonna get started. My name is Emily. I work at the Street Vendor Project, and I wanna welcome everyone to our June general membership meeting. This will be the first one in English from 5 to 6, and the next one at 6 p.m. will be in Spanish. So just as an introduction, SVP is a membership-based organization of street vendors all across the 5 boroughs, and we fight for better working conditions and dignity for street vendors. And our work includes legislative advocacy, grassroots organizing, and legal support. So just if you want to leave any questions, I realize it says Facebook Live, it's actually a YouTube stream. And so you can comment on the YouTube video below if you have an account. If you don't have an account and you'd like to ask a question, you can text Karina, our deputy director. Her phone number is 413-441-6632. So you can ask any question to her and we can get back to you. You can also call our office number and leave a message with your name, your phone number, and what you're calling about, and we will call you back as soon as possible. At the moment, our office is closed, but we are still available by phone. We're still working, and we're still here to support you. And we recently created a Facebook group for street vendors, just to share resources, questions, events like this, and just talk about things that people are dealing with. And anyone who's a vendor is welcome to join. So the name of the group is Street Vendors United, or Vendedores Unidos. And if you just look that up on Facebook, you can request to join the group and we will let you join. So we have these membership meetings monthly, every second Tuesday of the month, and we're gonna continue to do so. We're trying out a new format on YouTube. We're just trying to find the best way to do these presentations. So what we've been doing during quarantine is we've been trying to check in with as many members as we can, starting with current members and calling expired members, and trying to connect people to resources and any information and support people might need. So please call us if you have any questions about anything in this presentation or anything else we didn't mention. So a lot has been going on right now in the country, and this is a really big moment, especially for police violence against Black people, which we know has happened historically throughout the formation of this country. But just to go back to specifically what people are protesting about right now. So on May 25th, the police reported to a deli in the city of Minneapolis, where they arrested George Floyd for allegedly using a counterfeit $20 bill. And while George Floyd was handcuffed and laying face down on a city street during the arrest, Derek Chauvin, a white Minneapolis police officer, knelt on Floyd's neck with his full body weight. So for nearly 9 minutes, Chauvin ignored George's desperate pleas for help, even as he repeatedly said, "I can't breathe, and please don't kill me." He was repeatedly calling out, "Mama," as he started to bleed from his nose and his movements came to a halt. And even after he lost consciousness, Officer Chauvin kept his knee on Floyd's neck. And by the time the ambulance arrived, Floyd had already passed away. And the following day, the police argued that the use of force was warranted because Floyd had aggressively resisted arrest. However, the recorded footage revealed very clearly that the opposite was true and that George was calm and compliant throughout the arrest. So the excessive use of force in the arrest of George Floyd, which caused his death, is characteristic of police across the country when they interact and engage with people of color, especially Black people. The following day, thousands of outraged people took to the street in Minneapolis to protest the murder of Floyd at the hands of the police. And within days, cities across the country have erupted in protest over the killing of Floyd and hundreds of other Black people by the police. Every year in the US, the police kill an average of 1,000 people. A disproportionate number of those murdered are Black. And although Black people make up 12% of the US population, they make up 33% of all incarcerations. And it's no wonder that 1 in 3 Black men and 1 in 18 Black women will be incarcerated in their lifetime, and that hundreds are murdered every year by police. Policing in America, as in many other parts of the world, is an inherently violent and racist system that has its roots in slavery. From Sandra Bland and Breonna Taylor to Eric Garner and George Floyd, police kill countless Black people each year in cities all across the country and are rarely, if ever, prosecuted. We've also witnessed the militarization of the police force over the last decade and a siphoning of funds from the already underfunded education, public housing, and healthcare systems used to increase police presence across the country. As SVP, we stand with the Black community to demand accountability for excessive force and murders committed by police officers. We also demand that the police force be defunded and demilitarized, and that those funds be used to properly fund our schools, our hospitals, and our communities. Here on the left, we see white protesters with guns shutting down a state capitol building, and they're largely allowed to continue because of their race. Whereas on the right, we see a New York State Senator, Zellner Myrie, at a Black Lives Matter protest where he was pepper sprayed and handcuffed. This is just one example of the police system practicing uneven enforcement and aggressively targeting Black and brown communities. In New York City, the NYPD's nearly $6 million budget is poised to decrease by just 0.39% in the coming fiscal year. During the same period, funding for the Department of Education could drop by $827 million, which is a 3% cut of its overall budget. This is echoed in city budgets all across the nation. Though many are suffering from months of shutdowns and cutting social services, city governments are generally keeping law enforcement budgets the same, or in some cases even increasing them, like in Washington, D.C. We must question, where are the resources to support the Black and brown and working class communities affected by COVID-19? Why is it that hospitals lack resources to provide their workers with sufficient protective equipment to be safe, but police departments have full military-grade equipment? It really looks like we need to shift priorities to keep our communities safe and healthy, especially during a global pandemic, rather than living in fear. Across the nation and the world, there have been massive groups of people protesting the murder of George Floyd and demanding that systemic racism in the criminal justice system be addressed, and calling for there to be less police presence and more funding for social services. For many, the police actually makes people feel less safe, especially for undocumented people for whom an arrest can mean deportation, and for Black people for whom a brush with the police can mean losing your life. More resources, education, and health services are being named as measures that actually would make our communities safer. Imagine what $6 billion that goes to the NYPD could mean to our communities. Think about what safety means to you. What does it mean to your family? Just as an example, for many people, street vendors mean safety. When someone is walking home at night alone in the dark, they see street vendors who they know and have a relationship with because they're part of the same community, and they feel safer on the street. As part of the nationwide movement to defund the police, in New York City, Mayor de Blasio is responding by issuing a number of reforms to policing. On Sunday morning, due to immense public pressure, the mayor announced that he would take the NYPD out of street vending enforcement. He said that enforcement of code violations for street vendors would be moved out of the NYPD's hands and into administrative enforcement. So this is a huge win for all of us, and it is thanks to every member of the Street Vendor Project. To each street vendor, family member, friend who called out for street vendor justice, who went to City Hall, who protested, who made signs, who did press interviews, this is your hard work in action, and we're so glad that you have joined this fight with us. We must continue to make sure that the mayor's statement is not just words, but that it is put into law. And we would like this statement to be integrated into all relevant city statutes and regulations and communicated immediately to NYPD Commissioner Shea and police precincts across the 5 boroughs. And from this day forward, no vendor should be ticketed, harassed, or even approached by the NYPD. We're pushing for the process regulating street vending by civilian agencies to be streamlined and housed under one office for regulation. We continue to call to lift the caps on mobile food vending permits and general vendor licenses, which would create opportunities for thousands of street vendors citywide. Despite the mayor's change of heart, the mayor has consistently blocked legislation that would accomplish this goal, including most recently Intro 1116, a bill that has 30 co-sponsors in City Council. So that's why we're saying it is time to lift the caps, and we hope you can continue to join us in this fight. So transitioning a little bit, the federal stimulus bill has left out hundreds of thousands of undocumented workers and immigrant small business owners who have played a critical role on the front lines of the response to the pandemic. The CARES Act, which was passed on March 27th, completely excludes undocumented workers, mixed status families, and cash economy workers, including those who pay taxes using an ITIN, from receiving benefits like unemployment insurance and stimulus checks. The mayor recently announced a partnership with the Open Society Foundations to support 20,000 undocumented New Yorkers through one-time relief checks ranging from $400 to $1,000. But unfortunately, this fund falls short of reaching the hundreds of thousands of undocumented New Yorkers who've been excluded from all relief. Meanwhile, in California, we've seen that programs have been created for excluded residents at both the state and city levels. That's why our demand is for cash assistance for New Yorkers that have been excluded from benefits. We're calling on the city and the state to create a fund for individual payments to New Yorkers excluded from the federal stimulus package in amounts that match those set by the CARES Act, following the eligibility requirements set for the ID NYC application. Our targets are Governor Andrew Cuomo. Like Governor Newsom of California, Cuomo has the power not only to cancel rent for millions of New Yorkers, he also has the power to create a fund to provide crucial relief to the most vulnerable communities in his state. And Mayor de Blasio, similarly, de Blasio can create a city fund to help the undocumented and underserved New Yorkers who make this city run. So one of the ways that you all can participate in this campaign is by participating in our banner drop. So we ask that you make a banner out of anything from a bed sheet, tablecloth, or just a piece of paper with a message, one of the messages below, in support of workers who've been excluded from COVID-19 relief. We ask that you make your message really bold and easy to read using dark colors on a light background, like the examples that we have, and that you send it in a photo to Karina before 1 p.m. on Wednesday, June 10th, and her phone number is on the screen. So these are the messages that would be great to have on the banner. Cuomo, fund excluded workers. More resources for immigrants, fund excluded workers. And defund the NYPD, invest in communities. So how to hang the banner. Identify the most visible location in your home or neighborhood. And that could be on a fire escape or a window, or on a public park fence, or just somewhere that's very visible. And make sure to take a picture of the banner, and you can pose in it yourself and send it to Karina. So as of June 8th, New York City has entered phase 1 of reopening due to the decreasing number of deaths due to COVID, with curbside retail, construction, and manufacturing. This means that all street vendors can go back to work, provided they follow social distancing guidelines. So all in-person sales must occur through a curbside or in-store pickup station, and browsing through stores is still off limits to customers. In other words, you have to call in your order in advance or place it online in advance. Store personnel must wear face masks at all times and keep 6 feet apart, or be separated by plexiglass if it's impossible to meet that social distancing limit. Customers picking up items must stand in a line with designated markings to keep everyone separated by 6 feet. So we recommend, these are some health and safety guidelines for all vendors. We recommend that you implement these same rules at your stands in order to keep yourselves and your customers safe and healthy. So always wear gloves and a mask, and make sure that you're wearing a mask that covers your nose and your mouth. Wearing gloves and using hand sanitizer, you should be using that to clean your gloves throughout the day. Do not use recycled bags, and avoid handling cash. Instead, try to use Venmo or a Cash App. Make sure to give priority to high-risk customers, like seniors and pregnant women. And for your customers, make sure that they follow these guidelines. There's no self-service. Vendors should be the only ones handling food, fruits, vegetables, and merchandise, and customers should be told not to touch anything. They must maintain 6 feet of distance between each other. All people, including customers, must maintain this distance, and it's recommended that you ask your customers to form a line of 6 feet apart of one another. And try to set up protective barriers, like in this picture right here, and signs on your car and trucks to show the changes. And use cones, caution tape, and protective plastic to maintain social distancing. So I just wanted to share some information about grants and loans that you might be able to access. So first, we want to cover what is available to street vendors in particular. We'll share with you a document that we have of all the loans available below. But first, there's the Business Center for New Americans. They have announced that $5,000 loans are available. And because the loans are of a small amount, the payments will actually be covered by the government under the CARES Act. So what you need to know to apply, you need a social security number, decent credit, some business documents, including tax certificate of authority, vending license and permit, and sales tax filings. Business purpose for using the loan funds, for example, renting a garage, buying merchandise or food for reopening, or cart repairs. And the loans need to be made before the end of September. Then for the Hebrew Free Loan Society, these are loans to low-income and immigrant New Yorkers, and the loans are between $2,000 and $5,000 with 0% interest. So please contact SVP at the phone number 646-602-5679 if you have any question about these loans and how to apply for them. And we can answer your phone call in English, Spanish, Mandarin, or Arabic. So just some updates for sales tax filings. On June 22nd, quarterly sales tax filings are due, and late fees are waived for people who were unable to pay sales tax in March. And we can help you fill out these taxes like we've done before. So if anyone needs help filling out a paper sales tax form, our lawyer, Matt, will help fill out the form with you over the phone, and then mail the form to your house for your signature, and then you will have to mail it to the sales tax department. So if you need help with this, please call Matt. This is his phone number, 305-804-8046. So we've got some questions about what to do if you get a ticket while you're working right now. The court oath is doing hearings over the phone. And here on the screen is a link for more information about that. But you can also call Matt if you have any questions in particular about your situation. We provide free representation for our members for resolving tickets. So please feel free to call Matt if you have any questions about a ticket that you receive. So moving on to housing, we've been getting a lot of responses from people that housing is a really big issue right now, especially during this pandemic when people aren't able to work. So these are just some updates, just so everyone can be informed. The first is that the eviction moratorium has been extended through August 20th. And that means that no one can be evicted for not paying rent between March 20th and August 20th. But the moratorium is only for those who have experienced a financial hardship due to COVID-19. So please make sure to keep track of any past due bills, unemployment benefits, sales tax filings, etc., to show the proof of hardship if your landlord decides to begin an eviction case against you. And if you are currently having issues with your landlord, if your landlord is harassing you, be sure to call the Met Council on Housing for legal assistance. This is their phone number on the screen. It's 212-979-0611. And if you're currently being evicted, call 311 for immediate assistance. The state has banned late payment fees or penalty fees for missed rent payment during the extended eviction moratorium, so you will not get any fees, or you shouldn't get any fees. The state is also allowing renters facing financial hardship to use their security deposit as payment and allowing for a gradual repayment of missed months of rent. But as we know, this eviction moratorium is not enough. For most of our members and many other vendors, housing is a struggle, and we really need an actual rent relief for all New Yorkers. Because with this eviction moratorium, thousands of New Yorkers will be in debt or face eviction at the end of the summer. So we know that this crisis has affected all New Yorkers, but especially those like our members who are already struggling to make rent and survive in the most expensive city in the country. And so that's why SVP is part of a broad coalition calling on Governor Cuomo to cancel the rent to keep New Yorkers safe in their homes. So we ask that you join us in this fight because this is something that we're all facing together. And the work that we've been doing has been working, and we can't stop now to advocate for housing justice for all. So our members have been joining thousands of New Yorkers calling on Cuomo to cancel the rent. And they've been doing this through hashtag cancel rent Cuomo, photos and posters, and also by having citywide banging of pots and pans outside of people's windows on Fridays at 5 p.m. advocating to cancel the rent. And we're hoping that we can build more momentum to advocate for rent to be canceled during this global pandemic. And together we can make sure that New Yorkers are safely housed during and after this crisis. So lastly, we just want to share some mental health resources. We know that this has been a really difficult and confusing time for people, mentally and physically, and that this crisis has made many of us feel really isolated and alone. But we want to say that you are not alone, and that New York City has actually set up a mental health support hotline that is free, confidential, and has interpretation services. So when you call, you can expect to speak to a trained counselor or peer support specialist who will listen to your concerns or help you go through this crisis and give you support, resources, and referrals that you need to keep going and to be well. So this is just how you can call. I will share the English number, which is 888-692-9355. And for Spanish, it's 888-692-9355, and then you press 3. And then for Mandarin, it's the same, but then you press 4. And for all other languages, including Arabic, make sure to stay on the line and you'll be connected with a counselor who can connect you to a translator services. So thank you so much for your time. I'm going to see if there's any questions. Okay, well, it doesn't look like there are any questions at this time, but you can definitely comment anytime you're watching this video, or later on you can contact us and ask any questions you might have. And we are available to reach out to you, and we're here to support you. So I hope that everyone has a great evening, and thank you so much for joining us.